Antony, can you come up here?
Yeah, no worries.
So I met Antony by a phone call to say, I really want to find out about cooperatives, can you help me? And Antony is an absolute intellectual about cooperatives and has helped me understand how cooperatives are structured beyond anyone else I know.
Talk a little bit about myself and then talk a little bit about cooperatives. I just state my real admiration for Carolyn. I think it's so hard to break ground. There's real effort required and real stamina and perseverance, and I've just watched with real admiration, and obviously built a really good team around you, which is so important as well. So happy to be here to support this and to be a member of this new cooperative. My background, I suppose, started on cooperatives when I was studying community development, and I heard about this place called Mondragon in Basque, Spain, and this place that was started by a priest who literally just dodged a Franco bullet and was sent off into back to the Basque area, and this group of people had nothing. They really had nothing, and then they started saying, well, how do we get together? How do we do something in this community, in this area with very little resources, very little hope? The war's over. We were on the good side, but the bad side of Franco. What are we going to do? So they just started, I thought they actually started with education, but I've been told that they actually started with just getting together, and they started with a footy team, and they started to just get that social glue between people. And then they started to learn. So they spent a few years just learning about business, learning about cooperation, learning about how to work with each other. And then they said, let's start building something. So then they decided they ripped off a design from some heater overseas, and they just started building. And then that started to build a business, and they started to sell. And then this crazy priest, Arisman Dioreta, said, I think we need a bank. And everyone thought, oh, this is crazy. So I went off and forged some signatures, and he set up this bank. He just went off and did it, and they said, oh, Father Arisman, okay, we'll do that. So then he went and started that, and then that financial advice and support for this co-op, and then that co-op grew another co-op. And then the next thing you know, there's a cooperative university. From the vocational education went into a university, and they do wonderful things. The credit unions, it's all mutual. It's all person to person, co-op to co-op, mutual to mutual. And that's part of what we've been missing in Australia. So the more we connect these mutual and cooperative enterprises, the more it actually starts to become a movement. And this is such an exciting project. Why are we doing this stuff? We're moving from we're trying to move from an extractive economy to something that's generative. So the thing about mutuals and co-ops is it's not like the not-for-profit thing. There's that sort of part of it, but it's for member benefit. Who's the member? A person. So it's people coming together voluntarily for mutual benefit, and it goes in three ways. You have the social benefit, you have the cultural benefit, and you have the economic benefit. So you bring those things together. So you can have cooperatives that are quite, you can have what's called a distributing cooperative, which means that there is some individual benefit. You can have dividends and all that sort of stuff, which is not usually associated with a not-for-profit. And you can have charitable cooperatives that are very focused on social purpose, but they're all interlinked, and it's all about member benefit. Actual people coming together, making decisions, one member, one vote, for the common good, for the mutual good. And sometimes that doesn't work. We've had recent examples where co-ops and mutuals have lost their way, and we've just got to recognise that and not gloss over that. However, in the DNA and the operating system are these key planks about caring for community, about equity, economic benefit. On the one hand, you've got this weird thing about self-help as a key plank for cooperatives, and on the other side, you've got solidarity. So you've got this thing of, I'm going to take responsibility. I want to help myself with other people. The solidarity bit, that deep sense of connection and compassion, which is probably why we have the National Party on the one side pumping, through Barnaby, pumping money into the sector. And then you get all these libertarian socialists on the other side going, you don't usually get those people agreeing on anything, but they agree about cooperatives and mutuals. And that, again, we're outside of this polarised body politic that we're in at the moment, where we can actually bring people together for common good, because it combines that initiative, that responsibility, which is often associated with a conservative outlook, and solidarity, that deep connection and care for the other, which is often that sort of left of centre outlook. So, how much is it all worth? Well, if we talk about worth, it's really about that social capital, that's cooperative capital, that people capital, that's the really important bit. But when you start to look at the figures, it's pretty staggering. The top 300 global Coops, mutuals, a 2.5 trillion turnover globally. Cooperatives employ more people globally than multinationals. So this is big. This is really big. In Australia, the top 100, 30.5 billion turnover. It's actually a big sector, but it's often unsung. It can work really well. So in the UK, they did a survey where they found four out of 10 businesses last 5 years. A co-op, there is 8 out of 10, 80%, still going after 5 years. So it is hard to set up a co-op, but once you've set one up, it's pretty resilient. You have to think through a lot of stuff, a lot of legal stuff, but it's a resilient model. However, in Australia, we've got a long way to go. The one report that Alan Gregg sent me, and if you get on Alan Gregg's list, you are a lucky person. He is just a real inspiration. He sent me this report from New South Wales, where they found 50% didn't survive co-ops 5 years. I don't want to dwell on that, but there are real challenges. We haven't been cooperative and mutual for a long time. We have to look before the welfare state, which was really big and successful, but it all kind of got lost. But I don't want to dwell on that. What were the success factors? And this might help us with ORICoop, because we're all in this together. What were the success factors for the 50% that did survive? The survey came out. Number one, communication between board, members, and community. People. 2, function. Quality of product and service. Number 3, cash. Able to meet operating expenses. Right? So we've got this social, cultural, and economic. Tim Maswell, a great academic from Western Australia, University of Western Australia, talks about the three key planks of value when it comes to cooperatives. It's, again, sort of echoes this: financial value, functional value, and emotional value. Have a guess which is the most important for cooperative success and connection between members in the cooperative.
Emotional.
Emotional. It's the heart. It brings back the person. Next thing he talks about is there's 4 hats that you wear for a member of a cooperative. Patron, which is ye olde for sort of consumer, but in a worker co-op you're a patron. I just won't go there, but you're a patron, you're an investor, you're an owner, and you're a community member, all at the same time. So over in Western Australia, when you've got this big CBH cooperative that a small group tried to take over and demutualise, and they lost, which was fantastic. It's really interesting. The thing that really bent my head around is with the farmers, that they all own CBH, which is, it's a big, they own trains and stuff. It's amazing. Like, we're talking about a really large cooperative business. Now, if they make too much money in a year, you get a rebate. I didn't know what a rebate was when I went over to study with them. I said, that's when basically the business has made too much money and you can get some of it back, because the patron, customer, is also the owner, right? So this is about being a whole person in your economic, social and cultural life. You're bringing all these hats onto the one person. Now that's not without its challenges, but it's also, I think, about being an integrated person with others in the community. I think that's the hope of co-ops. It doesn't always go that way, but I think that is the hope of cooperatives and mutuals. How many co-ops do we have in Victoria? I don't really know. There's not a lot of data on that. The new social enterprise plan for Victoria didn't mention co-ops and mutuals. I spoke to some people in that area, they said, oh, it was like that. It wasn't like, oh, we didn't want them there, but they didn't think of it, right? So there's a bit of an invisibility thing going on that this sort of activity will start to turn around. So my own involvement is in a little thing called Co-op Workshop, which has been on and off since about 2012, with workshops for people to come along and learn about cooperatives. And with the Business Council of Cooperatives and Mutuals, which has been very supportive to this project.